Good morning. It's Thursday morning, and we're back together again reading the book of Philippians, chapter 4. We're being encouraged every day by the things that encourage Paul and the message that he's been giving Christians down throughout the centuries in all circumstances. And he begins in verse 4 of chapter 4 saying this. Remember the context. Paul did not live in a free and open democracy. He was under house arrest. This was a serious charge. There were Christians within his circle that were, for whatever reason, happy about the circumstances that had fallen upon Paul. So he's got a lot going on that would discourage anybody. But he says this, rejoice in the Lord always. He doesn't say rejoice always, rejoice in the Lord. In other words, when you think about the Lord, His sovereignty, His goodness, you surround yourself with the grace of God. He says you can rejoice in that. And I'm going to say it again, rejoice, because I think the first time people didn't get it. He says, Paul, did I hear you right? Was that a miss? Were you talking about regret in the Lord or commiserate in the Lord? No, Paul says, I said what I meant, and I meant what I said. I'll say it again, rejoice. What did that look like for you? If today you were starting your day and you're in week 6 or week 7 of isolation, you don't know about your job, your kid's schooling is, well, who knows? Maybe you're prone to discouragement. There's just a way that your genes are, or whatever it is. Yet Paul says, rejoice in the Lord. Can you do that? Can you just be obedient to this? Paul's not saying try to rejoice. It's a command. And the truth is, there's enough truth, enough grace. If we just thought about it a little bit, we would understand. I do have a lot to rejoice. So Paul says, rejoice. And he says, let your gentleness be evident to all. People who aren't rejoicing sometimes are panicking, or they're trying to control the circumstances of their life. They're trying to create circumstances in which they will rejoice. Paul says, no, you just rejoice and let your gentleness be evident to all. Gentle here means you're trusting in the Lord. You're not running around with your hair on fire. You're not crying out. You're not drowning your sorrows in your soup. He says, let everybody see how peaceful you are in the midst of calamity. And don't fake it. You got good reason to be gentle, not manipulative, and rejoicing. The Lord is near, which means quite likely that He's coming soon, which He didn't come soon, but in every generation there's this expectation that the Lord is coming. But even if He's not coming bodily like He promised, He's near spiritually. The Lord is near. Don't be anxious about anything. The way I was raised as a Christian, I don't have idols or icons or images, statues. But I understand why people build them, statues of Jesus. It would be kind of cool if I had right here a statue of Jesus. and just kind of in my head, I said, Jesus is with me. I know this isn't Him, but this reminds me of His presence. And how weird would it be if, with Him sitting there, the creator of everything, and I'm worried about what I'm going to have for lunch, or I'm worried about my job, and He's right there. how could I be anxious? How were the disciples anxious in the boat on Galilee when that storm arose? They were anxious. And they didn't figure out that we got Jesus in the boat. And if Jesus is in the boat and the boat is in a storm, it makes all the difference. So Jesus wakes up from his sleep and he says, guys, don't be anxious. The Lord is near. He's in your boat. Let your gentleness be known. In every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. He's right there. He's near. So if there's something in your circumstance, in your life that is tempting you to freak out and to worry, he says, look, just go to the Lord with a thankful attitude. He says, Lord, I want to thank you that you love me. I want to thank you that you're a good God, and I got a few things to ask you. But I just want to remind myself that you're the kind of God who loves to give. And then let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts from being anxious and your minds in Christ Jesus. If you don't do that, if you just sit there and worry and phone your investment guy or phone people and you start kind of doing your thing, Paul says you're not going to have the peace of God. I'm not saying don't do those things, but don't do them in a panic. Do them in a way that you're saying, I've prayed about this, and in as much as it's in my power, I'm going to let God use me to answer my own prayer. But ultimately, it's his deal, and I'm just going to rest in the knowledge that he's going to do what is right and for his glory. I mean, just do it. Do it today. Take your worries and your problems and say, Lord, I've been sinning. I've been worshiping these things. I've been thinking less of you than I should, and just rejoice in that you have a relationship with God who loves you, hears your prayers, gives you peace. If it were not so, if there were no God such as we know sitting on the throne, okay, panic, manipulate, do your thing, be anxious, all of that. You've got good reason to be that way. But the throne is occupied. And God has planned the end from the beginning. And you're part of his goodwill. Be not anxious. Rejoice. And that's the good news for Thursday morning. Thanks for listening. God bless you.